Yeah, I heard I was making some foul noise there, so sorry about that.
All right.
All right, Mr. Cahill, we are ready.
Thank you, sir. All right, pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, and in line with social distancing guidelines followed during the COVID-19 pandemic, all Port Council members are participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. All Port Council members are participating in the meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app, and all members will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of the members' remote participation in this meeting, any and all votes taken by the members today shall be by roll call vote. I would also like to inform everyone that today, Kimberly McHugh will be making a recording, audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself by pressing this raise your hand icon, or if you are joining by phone, press *9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Thank you. So do we have anybody else recording?
Yeah, not seeing anyone.
All right. Why don't we move right into the minutes? I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Joe Solito.
Yes.
All right. Nat Lowell.
Aye. Yes.
Rob.
Aye.
And Mark.
Yes.
And John Cahill, yes. All right, moving down the page. We're moving at a fast clip here. Next is the business summary for the month of February.
All right, well, as Mark comes over to present that, I'll mention who's in the barn here with me. In addition to Kimberly McHugh doing the recording, she's being assisted by Monica Andrade, Mark Rosum, Terrence Keneally, Angela Campbell, Angela Sampson, Allison Fletcher, Janice Kennefic, and Bill Cludier, along with myself.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Mark.
I have to go over the business summary for the month of February. Okay, so passengers carried for the Vineyard route were up 19.1% versus the previous year. On the Nantucket run, we saw an increase of 5%. Both routes combined for the month of February, we saw just over 70% increase, or just under 15,700 passengers. Year to date, compared to last year, the Vineyard route's up 10.8%. Nantucket's up 2.4%, and both routes combined are up over 18,000 passengers, or 9.7%. Graph comparing the 2 months, 2021 versus 2022. Okay, here's showing the vehicles carried. On the Vineyard route for the month of February, we saw an increase in cars compared to the previous year of 1,840 or 7.4%. We saw the standard vehicles, both pickup trucks and automobiles down, while we saw the excursion vehicles up for the month. On the Nantucket route, we saw an increase of 2.5% or just over 100 cars. Standard fare automobiles were down, while every other category for the passenger vehicles were up for the month of February. Both routes combined, we saw an increase of 1,948 cars or 6.7%. Year to date, Vineyard's just about flat, an increase of 0.3%. Excursion fares are up while the standard fares are down. On the Nantucket route, same thing, up 2.2%. Excursion vehicles are up while standard fares are down. Here's a graph comparing the first 2 months of the year for 2021 and 2022 for passenger vehicles carried. Here's the freight vehicles for the month of February. The Vineyard route was up 265 trucks. The Nantucket route was up 179 trucks. And both routes combined were up 444 trucks, and those are one-way vehicles. Year to date, both routes are virtually flat, with the Vineyard route up 0.9%, the Nantucket route up 0.1%, and both routes combined up 0.6%. And here's 21 compared to 2022. Here's looking at the cars parked for the month of February. The Vineyard route was up just over 700 cars. The Nantucket route was up just under 100. And both routes combined were up 800 cars, or 30.2% for the month of February. And granted, the percentage is high, but it's a small overall number, to put in perspective. Year to date, both routes combined for parking were up over 1,200 cars, or 22% compared to the previous year. Here's a graph comparing again 2021 with 2022. Next slide shows the trip summary. So on the Vineyard route for the month of February, we had 7 trips canceled for mechanical, 18 for weather, and 21 for budget compared to, for traffic demands compared to what we budgeted. On the Nantucket route, we had no trips canceled for mechanical, 6 for weather, and 16 for traffic. Year to date, both routes combined, we have 7 trips canceled for mechanical, 114 for weather, and 112 for traffic. Looking at the financial snapshot for the month of February, we had operating revenue of just under $4.8 million, which was higher than budget by $384,000. We had other income of $51,000, which was lower than budget by $1,483,000. And that's primarily due, essentially it's all due to time of grant revenue of $1.5 million. 900,000 of it will be realized in March, and the other remaining 600,000 of the grant revenue will be realized in the second quarter. Operating expenses of $8,282,000 was lower than budget by just under $800,000. And net operating loss for the month of February was $3,586,000, which was a higher loss than we budgeted by $302,000. Year to date, operating revenues of $9,547,000, higher than budget by $264,000. Other income is lower than budget by $1,473,000. Again, that's that grant revenue, which we'll see realized later this year. Operating expenses of $16,966,000 is lower than budget by $1,468,000. And net operating loss for the month, for the first 2 months of the year, of $7,653,000 is lower than budget by $265,000. Okay, and here we have a breakdown of the revenues for the month of February. You can see the vehicle revenues are down compared to budget, where the standard fares are down and the excursion fares are up compared to what we originally forecast. Year to date, the same things going on there. So looking at the total revenue, as we mentioned before, we're up $384,000 for the month, at $264,000 for operating revenue for the year. Next slide. There's a breakdown of where all the revenues coming from. For February and the first 2 months of the year. Operating expenses. Maintenance expenses are down for the month of February, $650,000, and for the year it's $860,000. Mainly that's timing. So the big driver on that is timing on the dry dock for the MV Nantucket, which were originally budgeted for realizing expenses in February. We'll see those realized in March and April, and that's about $450,000 of that $650,000 for the month. Fuel expense for the month of February is up $9,000 compared to budget. Fuel expense for the year, though, we are down $39,000, but we don't expect that to hold for the remainder of the year with current pricing. And here's a breakdown of the how all the expenses are for the month of February, as well as the first 2 months of the year. Quick sneak peek into the first 3 weeks of March. You see the passengers on the Vineyard route are up 11.7%, and on the Nantucket route we're up we're down 344 passengers. Both routes combined we're up just over 7,500. Next slide. And then here's the breakdown for the first 3 weeks of March, where the overall vehicles on the Vineyard Route are virtually flat, or all 14 vehicles combined. And on the Nantucket Route, we're up about 274 vehicles for the month so far of March for the first 3 weeks. And with that, we have to answer any questions anyone has.
Thank you, Mark. Gentlemen, any questions? Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Just curious about the comparison with 2021. The fact that we've got an increase, I guess I would think that to be logical from the perspective of we're less COVIDized than we were a year ago. But how would you say we compared to pre-COVID? Is there any relevance to making that comparison?
Yeah, so looking at that, give me 1 second, I had something written up for that. So the excursion fare travel is coming back to pre-COVID levels, where through the first 2 months of February on the Vineyard Route, for example, 58.2% of the vehicles through February traveling were excursion rates. Last year, we're at 50%, now we're at 54.2%. So we're seeing an increase in the getting more normalized as far as excursion fares and the standard fares as far as the travel patterns go. And the passengers are pretty close to 2019 levels as well.
Great, thanks.
Good to know.
So I guess I was just trying to, sort of put that in context only because, 10 or 15% increase sounds like a lot, but in actual fact, it really isn't. It's compared to COVID.
Yeah, and then looking at February with some of these increases for the month that, one weekend could have a, on the
Yeah.
automobiles for the travel, because it's such a small number to.
Sure. Understand. Yeah, thanks. The other question was about that $1.5 million in unreal or revenues not realized, other income not realized. That's just a timing thing.
Yeah, that's grant revenues. We originally forecasted and the guesstimate of when we'd be getting the grant revenue of 1.5 million with some 5307 funds. We submitted in for of that 1.5 million, 900,000 in the month of March. So we'll be over 900,000 on grant revenue budget for the month of March. And then in the second quarter, we'll be grabbing the other 600,000 of it.
Got it.
Mark, is
Thanks.
that grant revenue the website?
No, that's different. This is through with this cooperation with the CCRTA through the NTD and FTA.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the report.
All right. Let's move on.
All right,
Updates
so-
on projects.
Yeah, so as Bill makes his way up here, I'll give you some quick updates. Since the Port Council last met, marine contractor J. Cashman Inc.'s crew and the dive crew completed installing the rebar cage inside the coffer dam at monopile number 24. They also started to fill the coffer dam with concrete, and that was completed on by March 18. The divers then demobilized and left the site. Cashman's crew repaired some of the high-density plastic on monopile number 9 and slip number 3. They completed the access platforms to monopile number 24 and some touch-up that needed to be done. The Cashman started removing their equipment and demobilizing the barge crane. At this point, Cashman's work is substantially complete. There was a few punch list items that need to be taken care of, but by and large, they're done. And pleased to report that on Monday, April 14th, the Cashman barge departed the site and the slip is operational from a marine perspective. So all 3 slips are essentially done. We are waiting on some of the ski data equipment that needs to be installed at slip 1. There's a delay on that equipment. So that way we can, fully utilize that. But for the time being, I think they'll be using it for the freight trips. And we've sent out 192 community emails, status of the project. So with that, I'll ask Bill to show you what he has.
Good morning, everybody. So I just get a bunch of overview slides of what the marine side of the work looks like. This is an aerial view of all 3 slips, 2 canopies and 2 piers, and then there's in the middle, in between there's a canopy on the land side. Next, just another view from the north. The barge is gone. We're all happy about that. Next, and this is a view from the land side. So you can see on the land side that the slips are elevated compared to the rest of the property. We're going to be attacking that next year in an enabling phase on the land side and raising the elevation and installing stormwater and doing some enabling work for to start the building construction. Next. This is the north side of the property. This is where Cahoon Park is going to be located. It's all cleaned up. You can see the North Shore Trust dock right to the north of that. Next. Okay, so today, the original contract was about 43 million. The change order is around 16.2 million. As a percentage, that's 38%. The total contract is 54.9 million, and the estimate was 53.6. So that puts us over about 5.7 million, the original estimate. Any questions?
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, two questions. Thanks for the report, Bill. How much are you raising up the parking area or the access area relative to the slip heights?
Yeah, so when right now the slips at the slips themselves, right at the bulkhead, they're anywhere between 8 and 9 feet. Okay, so all three transfer bridges have different heights for accessibility
Right.
reasons. So we go from 8 to about 10.5 will be the plaza elevation for the terminal building. Okay, and that'll start about 110 feet back, and then we'll gradually slope down from there to be at this current elevation under the bridge. Rob.
Got it. Thanks. And I would disappoint you if I didn't ask the second question, which is, what do you think the final number is going to be on your slide, your last slide?
The climate number or the cost?
No, the cost number.
Yeah, we told Cash we were gonna send them a bill for dockage because they were done on Friday and the barge didn't leave until Monday, so I want to send them a nice big bill for dockage, but
There you go.
yeah. At this point, I think we've identified any significant, change orders. There's a couple small cleanup items that still need to be done, but at this point, they should already be, taken care of in the contract or a previous change order, so.
And I don't know if Mark, with substantial completion, there's some line item credits that we're due.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we've taken credit for that yet, but we're pretty close.
So it sounds like it's going to be under 60.
Just barely. Yes.
Yeah, there's a few $100,000 in,
200,000.
few $100,000 in, few $100,000 in credits we will be getting because they materials that they didn't need and things like that. So once we apply that, those should easily offset anything that we're getting. So if anything, that number might come down a little.
Great. Okay, thanks. Appreciate that. When's the party?
Yeah.
I was out there yesterday, watching it go.
Rob, I thought the barge was just gonna move over to your dock.
All right, so the other piece of this is the what's called terminal, the landside portion. So the design team continues to prepare the specification package for the landside portion of the project. The contract for the site work will be the first to be issued. We anticipate issuing and awarding that contract in time for site work to begin this September. A second specification package is also being prepared, and that's for the building contracts, the buildings contract, and we anticipate awarding that contract this coming fall. So the site work, there's elements of the project that need to be done. There needs to be some stormwater that needs to be piping that needs to be moved. There's some electrical conduits that need to be moved. We have to make preparations for the electrical switchboard to be taken out of the freight shed and placed at a temporary location. So that's what that first site work that we anticipate starting this fall will contain. So but that's it on the land side portion of the project. So. Next is an update on the website redesign. Do you have anything among them? So Sean's not here today. So ADK and the Steamship Authority's team held a mapping session in which they used to create an understanding of what the flow and the mechanics of the existing site are, as well as what additional features that we'd be looking for, so that way they can plan in to improve the overall experience for our customers. ADK identifies this as the revealing reality phase of the project. The team also met to review and discuss strategy regarding the mobile app and how that will work and what we envision and what they can envision for that. The development team also gave their presentation regarding the content management system, or CMS. The recommendations for that. The team put forth information regarding Contentful as the CMS system of choice, and outlined the various features and benefits of its use. So I think the project's moving along at this point. I think the big thing is the content management. So with our existing site, there's elements of it that we control in terms of being able to put the information in. There's the elements that the existing developer has that they're able to, that we have to go to them if there's a change. So with the new site, we need to have that content management, so that way we can control as much as possible of what's being put in. So that's the status of that at this point.
Questions, anyone? Bob, I have a question. You mentioned that part of the control is, or the development is, or part of the content management is part of a development team. That's different than ADK?
Yeah, so this is, it's going to be a subcontractor of ADK that would be, assisting them in the source code on how to add that element to the website. So.
Will that be an ongoing relationship with that development group?
Yeah. So again, I think they'll end up being a sub of ADK. So we'll have to have that as a continuing contract or sub, so that way for support down the line.
Okay. And then my last question is, I mean, you might not be able to answer this today, but it would be great to start to see some storyboards on the website and the mobile application. So I'd be curious to know as to when we could see some storyboards as to how this is going to lay out.
I will bring that up with Sean on his return. Yep. Okay.
Great. Thank you. All right, how about Island Home?
So Island Home, Mark Emerson, that needs to be brought over.
I love this stuff.
All right, we need to get back to Zoom. Wait.
can click up on the top, on the left. Just stop share first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you.
He's not there.
Yeah, he was there.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
There it is.
Yes.
Morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Loud and clear, Mark.
Okay, so, well, been a busy winter and we're at the conclusion of the dry dockings, except for the Nantucket. We'll get into that momentarily. We'll start off at the Island Home. The Island Home redelivered last month and to repair and was currently finished our maintenance repair period in Fairhaven. She's back on the run. The photo you're looking at is on completion of the underwater area of the dry dock. You can see the coatings completed along with propeller rudder refurbishment. Next slide, please. There's just an alternate view. That's a picture of our Becker rudder, which is a 90-degree articulated rudder. She's ready for launching at this point. Next slide. One of the highlights of our dock, we repositioned our MES doors so they're flush mounted to the side shell. And we were having some issues last year with the new fendering systems, and that's been rectified. Next slide, please. So the dry dock highlights, we did kind of a midlife on the bow and stern rusters and also on the bow and stern door overhauls. As we just highlighted, the marine evacuation system door modifications, underwater blast and coating, and overhaul of the rudder systems. Next slide. So the total contract value of the Island Home was $1.365 million. We had $324,000 in credits, $363,000 in change orders, and a total credits, contract, and change orders of $1.4 million. We were just slightly over by a slight amount, and that really had to do with some extras on doors and replacement windows on the vessel. Any questions on the Island Home?
Nope.
Okay, can we move on to the Nantucket? Okay, so currently the Nantucket is at Thames Shipyard. She's undergoing, we're probably about 70% complete. We're coming near the end. This picture shows final coatings applied in the underwater dry dock area, and also a picture of the bow thruster, which has been completely overhauled. Next slide. There's a picture with, excuse me. Here's a picture. We're moving back. We're taking all the coatings up on the boat deck level and reapplying for life extension. Next slide. Picture of the underwater area. We've completed. Just getting ready. We're doing the installation of the shafts and rudders right now. Next slide. So the highlight of the area, deck coatings and underwater coatings also. We've installed a new fire detection system installation, blasting coating of the hull, propulsion shaft repairs, and rudder overhauls. Next slide, please. So where we are right now, the total contract for the Nantucket, $7.5 million. We've got about 330,000 change orders credits to date. And the change orders at 371,000 right now. So total credits, change orders, contract 1.7 million. We'll be very close to our budgeted dry dock item. Any questions?
1970 field trip.
Joe looks like he has a question. Joe?
Yeah, not about that. A question on the Woods Hole. Has the doors been fixed on that? I was on there back in the middle of March, and the way they opened the doors is the fellow had a huge wrench, and he had a wrench each side of the doors open.
Yeah, we had an issue with the Woods Hole door, and that's been rectified.
Okay,
You know, we'll be doing a similar overhaul on next dry dock that we did on the Allen home, but I mean, that's a secondary way we can do it, Joe. It's not one
Yeah.
you know, but if we have a problem, like for instance, with the hydraulics on motor, that's our backup plan, and it's fully the Coast Guard regulations, and but it's been rectified.
the poor deckhand was working pretty hard to do that.
Hey, Mark, this is Rob. I noticed the credit was on the steel work. Does that mean that the condition of the steel was found to be good and the renewal wasn't required to the same extent?
Well, there's two approaches to this. Is you do steel, you do coatings, and right now, given the age of it, we're doing extensive coatings. We're taking the deck coatings completely up and preserving. We're doing extensive ultrasonic gauging. So I think right now we're looking very good for the Nantucket going into the next 5 years.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Seeing no more questions, just thank you very much, Mark.
Yep.
Ready to move on.
Okay.
So next, we have the preliminary draft of the proposed 2023 summer and fall operating schedules. So the proposed 2023 operating schedules from May 18th to June 16th would start one day later and end 5 days earlier than the 2022 schedule. This is showing the full year, so the first two, the gray and the green were what we proposed last month. So we're starting the third one down. The proposed 2023 schedule from June 17th to September 5th would start 5 days earlier and end 2 days earlier than in 2022. The proposed September 16th to October 23rd would be 2 days earlier and end 2 days later than 2022. And then the final one, the proposed 2023 schedule for October 24th to January 3rd, 2024 would be similar to the 2022 schedule, but would start 4 days later and end 1 day earlier. So on the Vineyard route, which you're seeing now, for the early summer schedule, which is that May 17th to June 21st, the MV Island Home, Martha's Vineyard, Governor, and Woods Hole would be assigned to the route. The MV Nantucket would operate in place of the Martha's Vineyard and the Island Home during their spruce up periods. Each boat would be triple crewed and could operate up to 7 round trips per day. The summer schedule, which runs from June 22nd to September 7th, is essentially the same schedule and crewing assignments as in 2022. The Island Home, Martha's Vineyard, Governor, Nantucket would be triple crewed and operate up to 7 round trips per day. The MV Sankaty would operate with a single crew Monday through Friday, and they can operate up to 4 trips per day with a single crew. Late summer schedule, again, is the same schedule and crewing assignments as in 2022. The Island Home, Nantucket, Governor, and Katama would be triple crewed and operate up to 7 round trips a day. And then in the fall schedule, which is the October 24th to January 3rd. It's the same schedule and crewing assignments as in 2022, with the Island Home, Nantucket, Katama, all being triple crewed, able to run up to 7 trips a day. The MV Martha's Vineyard would replace the Nantucket once it completes its dry dock and repair period. So that'd be in the middle of November, around November 17th is when that's scheduled to return. Okay, next. On the Nantucket end, the early summer schedule, which is the May 16th, May 18th to June 23rd. 23rd. One second. Me. Sorry about that. Trying to. Eyesight's not as good as it used to be. May 18th to June 16th, sorry. Would be the Eagle, the Gay Head, and the Sankaty. The Nantucket would replace the Sankaty during Memorial Day weekend. And each vessel would be triple crewed and run up to 3 trips a day. The summer schedule, which is from June 17th to September 5th, is essentially the same assignments as what we have for 2022. The Eagle, the Woods Hole, and the Gay Head would be triple crewed. And then the container would replace the Gay Head for its, while the Gay Head goes off for its scheduled dry dock and repair period. The late summer schedule, which is September 6th through October 23rd, has the Eagle, the Woods Hole, and the Gay Head operating, and they all will be triple crewed. And then in the fall, which is October 24th to January 3rd, it would be the Eagle and the Woods Hole being triple crewed. And then when the Eagle leaves for its repair period after Thanksgiving, the Nantucket would take its place on that run. So. Meanwhile, I see on the far right-hand side there, we have the INO schedule. So it's essentially the same as what we have run now. And all these schedules are pretty much the same as what we've run now for the past 4 to 5 years. We're not proposing any changes in any of the times. We're not proposing any changes in the number of trips that they're running. So for the INO, it would be double crewed from March 28th to May 17th. And then starting on the 18th of May and through October 23rd, it would be triple crewed, which means it can run 5 trips a day. And then again in the fall, October 24th to the end of the year, it would be double crewed, meaning you can run 4 trips a day. So at this point, this is the preliminary draft. We'll be presenting this to the board. There's no votes required for this. We'll be presenting it to the board, making and then posting these notices for public comment. And we'll be coming back at a future date for a vote on the schedule.
Any questions?
Couple of things, since we're talking about scheduling, has anything been done about publishing the report that was done by the Urban Harbor Institute showing the number of trucks coming from New Bedford, going over the bridge, coming down 28 and actually going down the Woods Hole Road? Shouldn't that be something that we should be publishing to show that really, what is it? I think it says there's 1.84% of all the trucks that are coming over here. That's all that's on the Woods Hole Road. Should we be doing something to show the public that really there's not that many trucks coming down the road?
Yeah, that's an element that we can bring up. We did have it, and I noticed last night that we had provided the board with the Urban Harbors report for one of their meetings, because it came out after the Port Council had met. And then we didn't follow up with the Port Council the following month, and I didn't realize that until last night as I was going through the material. So we can add that to the Port Council's agenda in a future meeting if Port Council so wishes. But the report that it was commissioned by the MassDOT, they worked with Urban Harbors Institute, UMass Urban Harbors Institute, about whether there would be a benefit, what the benefits would be in terms of emissions operating from an off-Cape port.
Yeah.
And also on the congestion between the bridges and along Woods Hole, you know, the route into Woods Hole. The report did identify New Bedford as what they had identified as the subject port, although they make representations that they did not have any discussions with anyone from New Bedford regarding the viability of any port there. I don't have the report in front of me, but in summary, then they came back that the emissions that would be reduced from the trucks going to New Bedford versus coming down to Woods Hole would not be realized because the vessels actually emit more emissions than what would be saved by those trucks, you know, going to New Bedford. That was one piece of it, and then the other piece was that the amount of traffic that was going over the bridges at the canal. I want to say it's 0.4% of the traffic is related to the Steamship Authority. I may be wrong on that number, but that number sticks in my head for some reason. So, they also identified that Woods Hole Road is classified as a Class C road, and in MassDOT's parlance, a Class C is not identified as a congested road. So.
One
Yeah.
other thought I had too, just to bring up when we're talking about this, and I know that people are concerned in Woods Hole about the 5:30 a.m. boat. Is there any possibility that we could increase the capacity on the 6 o'clock run? In other words, if we had a bigger boat or running two boats at the same time out of Woods Hole, maybe one going into Oak Bluffs, the other going into Vineyard Haven? Is that possible to study that to see if that could alleviate some of the concerns of the Woods Hole people?
Yeah, so we had looked at that in terms of, you know, part of this isn't just the, you know, that one trip. It ends up being, you know, conflicts later on in the harbors, you know, by having them. So we try to keep the trips not running on top of one another. And we have to build the schedule on the basis that we're not able to get into Oak Bluffs because of weather conditions. So you'd have them both, and you know, in that scenario, you'd have them both going into Vineyard Haven at the same time. So that would be an issue. Obviously, with a larger vessel, that would be, you know, a different scenario, potentially a different scenario. But you know, we'll continue to support the recommendations and the policies that we put in place already in terms of not running that 5:30 trip during the off seasons, having it as a drive-through vessel, so that way vehicles don't have to be backing up and the like, enforcing the you know, the arrival times of these shippers, limiting it to the smaller trucks so they don't have the Jake brakes, that type of thing. So.
In planning, Bob, for the future for newer boats, maybe that's something that would be taken into consideration about maybe having a larger boat to eliminate some of these problems.
Yeah.
And also, can I just add to this? I feel like I'm going back to like Mashpee High School Cast Commission when I said that about the fuel. I was just 38 then, I think. So anyway, so Bob, to Joe's point too, and this is, I don't even know how this gets explained, but more doesn't mean more. In other words, the 3 slips, when this all started, we kind of didn't really have 3 slips before. There's not going to be more just because there's 3 slips. You've got your schedule. You just mentioned the Sankaty single crewed 5 days a week. That you're gonna have to work on that as far as explaining that at some point in time, you know, in a professional manner, obviously, as far as like having efficient slips and being able to, you know, tie up a boat correctly have spare boat closer to Hyannis, which is my favorite efficiency that you guys have now, thank God, you know, is part of all what Joe was talking about, not just more with less trips with larger and all that, but more about just because we're making the terminal more efficient doesn't mean there's going to be just all this new traffic. That's ridiculous. Nobody comes here for fun. Just to take a joyride in the afternoon, I think I'll just drive to Nantucket or the Vineyard. So, you know, so that's another piece I've been thinking about, because that's an old one from 20 something years ago, as well as, you know, the more you build, the more they come. When we lengthened and widened the freight boats, these guys don't remember that stuff. That's when that discussion started then with, oh my God, we're gonna have more. Not really. You're gonna have more if people want to come, they're just gonna have to wait longer. So they're not being deterred from coming just because they can't get a reservation. So thank you for all you're doing. Appreciate it.
Any more questions on the schedule?
Yeah, this is Rob. Sorry, I had to drop off on the other machine there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
Just you know, obviously the 5:30 boat is you know, going to continue to be a topic of discussion, and I guess I would just suggest that whenever this is going to go for you know, full review, that Bob, you guys, you know, have all your arguments ready and in place. I realize it's notionally, quote, settled, but I think, you know, for the purposes of providing the justification to continue that boat, we should go through the process of making sure that all of the pros and cons are, you know, adjudicated.
I agree, is that we need to make sure that we've done our homework and that what improvements we can make or what adjustments we can do, you know, are incorporated in the schedules.
So, you know, going back to what Joe was talking about it as increasing capacity, could we, by our next Port Council meeting, have your analysis as to what we can and cannot do more completely about increasing capacity? And present that to us?
Yeah, you know, part of this is part of the, you know, vessel replacement project that we're working on, and I anticipate that perhaps as soon as next month's meeting, actually being able to present something to the Port Council in that regard. So,
okay. Any more questions on this topic? Seeing none, let's move on.
all right. So next,
If you want to.
all right. Next, we have the results of the preseason sale and the INO ticket books. So for the 11th year in a row, the authority offered a 20% discount on the sale of high-speed ferry ticket books. The discount applies only to electronic ticket books for adults, seniors, and children. The preseason sale began on Sunday, March 20th, and ended on Saturday, April 2nd, and resulted in 3,737 ticket books being sold, generating over $823,000 in revenue. On the flip side, the cost of that, it cost us $205,000 with the discount, but it brings back some loyal customers towards the residents on the island to have to purchase and have a supply of ticket books. So that way they need to get off island. So we feel it's a valuable program. The sales for this year ended up being a 16.8% increase over the number of books that we sold in 2021, which was 3,199 tickets. So we had you know, a little over 550 tickets, more ticket books sold this year than last year, and it's getting closer to in line with the pre-pandemic levels.
Good.
And the vessel is back on the run. And the, I won't jinx anything, so.
And Bob,
Knock
through
on
you,
wood.
Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chair. Bob, thank you for, I don't know, the engine situation, getting the extra engine, you and Mark and whoever's involved in all this. This is a really great positive thing to get that boat in and out of its winter faster and more efficiently and planned ahead. This is great stuff. People don't see these things when we're told we, need to be fixed at the steamship. These are things you don't get on social media. So appreciate everything you're doing with that and how that's come out.
It'll be a big benefit to have.
Huge.
The two spares, so that way, when we have to do the overhauls on those, we can pull 2 of them out at a time and put the other 2 right back in and button it up once instead of having to do it twice.
Yep. Thanks to everyone involved.
All right.
Keep going.
So next, we want to advise the Port Council of a request for licensing for freight transportation service for Nantucket. So 41 North Offshore LLC on March 24th submitted a proposal in seeking support of its request for a license agreement with the Steamship Authority to operate a tug and barge freight service pilot program between New Bedford and Nantucket. 41 North Offshore is proposing a pilot program to determine the feasibility of having a tug and barge freight service between New Bedford and Nantucket, and is partnered with United Parcel Service on the pilot program. And they're going to be the initial customer for this. The pilot would run for over a 5-month period from mid-May until October of this year, and consist up to 70 round trips, each trip carrying an average of 3 tractor trailer equivalents. Loading and offloading in New Bedford would occur at Fish Island Terminal, and at the Nantucket, they're proposing the Steamship Authority dock. So we got this proposal, and we first looked at it. We were considering whether it was really just a dockage agreement, but we feel it does fall under the licensing request. So in accordance with our licensing of private vessel transportation services, advertisements and notices are being posted or have been posted. And currently it's anticipated that we'll be having a public hearing that's required for just such a request on Tuesday, April 19th, prior to the scheduled board meeting. So there's no vote that's required from the Port Council at this point. It does fall as a license request. I do see that Jonah is on the line. If there's any questions that anyone from the Port Council may have regarding this request, but effectively they want to modify one of their barges and then use that to bring vehicles over. There's some logistics that we would have to work out with the terminal in terms of arrival times and when they would depart, depart the facility and the like. But they're looking to, I think the barge is capable of bringing up to five trucks at a time, I think is what they're projecting. So, and we did have Mark Emerson did have a conversation with Jonah regarding the particulars of the barge in terms of making sure that we'd be capable of working with our existing transfer bridge. So I think those questions have been answered sufficiently by Jonah at this point.
Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Give your feedback on this.
Yeah. Bob, thank you for that. That was actually right on the dot, how you said it. I spoke to Joan and myself for about an hour the other day. And basically, you know, and Bob, not to go backwards to go forwards, but Victor's old barge was set up to tie up in our slip 20 years ago, or 15, 20 years ago. Used to be able to back into the south slip, tie up, and dealing with the dump, you know, real weird bulky stuff like there were tires from the 50s out there, you know, crazy stuff. So this isn't anything new. This is sort of a 21st century sort of solution to things that mobilization, oddball loads, things that can't get here without someone sort of staying in Hyannis for 3 days. You know, there's a lot of odd stuff that goes on here now that is a little different than it used to be. And I think that somebody that's committed to sort of being the operator that can do this stuff, working with different companies that are doing work over here. You know, back in the day, Lawrence and Lynch used to mobilize their entire company over here to pave a road and then leave. Metropolitan Builder Movers used to bring all their equipment to move one house. Now we move houses like it's like every day they're moving a house, it seems. You know what I mean? It's different now. So this is a sort of a way for a company to fill a niche that's materialized over time. And I think this is a good way to approach it. I think Bob's right about the licensing. It's sort of specialized. It's not sort of, you know, cut and dry like it used to be. We had a kind of a strange agreement where if the truck was on the barge, it paid the same as if it was on the boat. Then the trash started, then the C&D started. So this is sort of just a sort of a, I think, a modification of previous attempts. And it also, Bob, if you don't mind me saying this, paves the way for the future at the Nantucket terminal, so they don't destroy the.
You're breaking up, Nat.
Sorry.
There it is. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
We
But
missed
Matt,
the
you're
end.
all in favor, all in on this, yes?
Yeah, we're all in the sense of, you know, it's a little more than a pilot. It's sort of a relit pilot from the past, but more professional, more organized, more, you know, we didn't even have the fast boat when these things were going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is different now, you know, over here. So this is sort of a, you know, this guy is really good and smart and willing to, you know, there's a lot of things happening over here that can't come by truck per se. You know what I mean? And it's not just modular homes, but that's part of it. There's other things that happen that are not traditional. You know what I mean? And so I think this is good. This is a good way to restart.
All right, any more
I have a
questions?
question.
Go for it, Mark.
So in terms of the truck traffic, as one of the Fairhaven's concerns is the possibility that maybe these UPS trucks will take the exit on 195 that leads them down our main street, which is already overcrowded with trucks from the quarry that's in Acushnet. Can some assurance be made that these UPS trucks would take the 195 exit that takes them into 18 and then onto Route 6 onto Fish Island?
So we'll be sending a notice to Fairhaven, requesting any input that they would have, but I will be more than happy to pass this along to the board at their hearing and meeting about your concern, Mr. Reese.
Okay, well, yes, if you could send me whatever paperwork is necessary, and again, the date and time of the hearing, I'll probably participate in that or have somebody from the town participate.
Any more questions?
Hey, this is Rob. Hey,
Go
Bob.
for it. Yep, yep.
Yeah, can you just, I was a little unclear about what you're proposing relative to licensing for this. I must have missed a little bit there. What was the proposal there?
Yeah, so what, in terms of the process or in terms of what they're asking for?
Well, yeah, what you plan to do in response to what they're asking for.
Yeah, so our licensing policy requires us to post notice in papers that are generally circulated in the impacted communities. So we've placed ads in the newspapers. We're sending notices. There's a notice on our website regarding this. We're sending notices to the towns that are impacted. So that would be Nantucket, New Bedford, and Fairhaven. In terms of this, we're also, since there would be a potential impact with Barnstable, we're including town of Barnstable as part of that as well. So the process being is that we advertise it for 2 weeks. We schedule a public hearing. So at this point, we're looking at the potential, and I haven't talked to the board yet on this, but potential would be to hold the public hearing prior to the board meeting on the 19th, close that hearing, and then go into the regular scheduled board meeting. If that's not capable, then we'll schedule the hearing on another date. But again, and I haven't had any conversations with any of the board members yet as to.
Okay, I got
to
that.
discuss.
Have you thought at all about, second question, have you thought about, are there any implications relative to the RFP going out for the freight service from New Bedford to Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah, so I think they're two separate things. This one is, an offer to provide, and that's why we're looking at it in the same manner as a regular license request. I would anticipate that it would be, following along the lines that Mr. Lowell mentioned earlier, that we previously would charge whatever tariff we would have gotten had the vehicles gone on our regular shipments. I think under this scenario, we're going to be looking at it differently, that it's, this is a license, and so what sort of dockage fee do they propose, and the like would be the driving criteria there. Similar to how we've structured the RFP for off-Cape service for the vineyards as well. So not having any restrictions in terms of fees that we'd be charging for a vehicle, but more so if you're going to be using our facility, what do you propose for to compensate us for that? But
Right. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we were thinking about what potential unintended consequences. The third question I had was about the document that was provided with the package, and that's the policy for licensing, which I don't think I've ever seen or read that before. And my only comment is I see that it was last updated in 1996. And unless that's not true, maybe we need to look at it from the perspective of updating it to even though it might not change hardly, just to be current.
yeah, and I caught that 1996 myself, and I had to pull it out, but the declaration, the Declaration of Independence has
I mean, truthfully, when I read through it, I didn't see anything that actually jumped off the page to suggest that it wasn't still a valid and covered all the current sort of scenarios. But we might want to just make sure that it is gone through with a fine-tooth comb, and that it is put a more current date on it. But it looked like actually an excellent document, but I just point that out.
Point taken, and I'll let Mr. Sayers know that he needs to update his work from.
Yeah,
20
I saw his fingerprints all over that document. For
Yeah.
sure. Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Mr. Chairman, can I just say something before I have John
Yes.
up to talk? That's great. I just want to this kind of conversation is, it has to be kept normal. You can't get all over the place and start thinking of this and thinking of that. This operation out here is different than anywhere else. Sometimes it's 50 miles away, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 26. It changes depending on what the issue. Modular houses are coming over like cars. Okay? I mean, I'm telling you. So it's not a joke. Things have changed a lot. And our terminal was built in 1983. We had Dolly Freight not too long before that. We had that conversation a couple months ago. I felt like I was a historian at the Historic Association talking about it. It's like, but it isn't that long ago. And nobody dreamed about a fast ferry in 1983, let alone 1996 in Hyannis, and no one ever talked about it. So this potential partnership, relationship with Jonah, having somebody that is like, you know, like we have with Highland, like we have with C Street now. It isn't an alternative to the steamship. It's an organized way to do the business that just doesn't work well traditionally. Mobilization, things that are unusual, things that don't have time sensitive requirements, some of this crazy stuff like tearing, like the tank farm work and all that. Like you just can't get Costello dismantling to Nantucket in 10 minutes. It just doesn't happen. Like it. So this I see this as a fantastic, positive 21st century solution to things that happen sort of off the cuff. So I really appreciate, Bob, you working with them and figuring this out. And you know, so it's I just don't like things to get too crazy. Like, you got to stay calm. This is simple. This is not new. It's just a better way of handling it. I get nervous about how media says things, and like last summer with the airport, and I want to bring that up onto other business, just so you know. So thank you.
Yes, Mr. Lowell points out that the Nantucket is unique in our operations in that there's a significant amount of barge unloading that takes place at that facility, at our facility. And actually, when I was over there the other day, I was concerned we need to get someone out there to take a look at the bulkhead there, because it seems to be a lot of damage there right now. So we need to see if we can get that taken care of before the summer season. But you know, it is, you know, it's kind of a partnership with some of these other barge operators in terms of, you know, the shipping materials that are coming by the truckload onto our boats, and we just don't have the capacity to do it. So,
Bob, I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to have Jonah come into the meeting and share anything that he would like to share, or do you want to just go on?
we could ask him if you'd like to say anything. If not, we can move on. See if
Here he comes.
Thank you, Port Councilman Bob. I certainly appreciate it. You know, we appreciate the consideration here. We do view this as really hopefully a great opportunity for the island and for the authority to explore a different option for transporting, as you know, as Nat was saying, different materials that may not necessarily move on the steamship's ferries quite as efficiently as they could on a barge. You know, it is truly a pilot program. There's an awful lot of variables that come into play barging from New Bedford to Nantucket, but we're hopeful that, you know, if ultimately the board approves this request, this will give us an opportunity to see if it is a viable option, and then if it is, to develop it further from there. So if there are any specific questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them, but if not, we appreciate your considering it.
Or council members, any questions for Jonah? Seeing none, Jonah, thank you very much for your remarks. Yep.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Phone's blowing up.
Hello? So,
All right. Are we going on to treasurer's report?
Yeah, I think Mr. Rosen gave his, at the end of the business summary. I don't know if there's any other questions you may have for him. We probably should put the business summary under the treasurer's report in the future. No questions for Mark?
Doesn't appear so.
Okay. So, whether there's any old or new business that,
Yes,
John?
Joe?
Okay. Question, Bob, on the 8 pilings that are going into Oak Bluffs, is that going to be completed in time so we open when we're supposed to open in May?
yeah, so they're working on that. We had the materials on site when it was discovered that these needed to be replaced. The last bills left the room, but the last estimate that I had that they would be, this work would be done before the end of April. So a couple weeks before the facility is scheduled to open, so.
Was there
I know
any
that they
reason
were-
this wasn't, was there any reason this wasn't discovered back in, let's say, October, November, when you do your survey before you shut it down?
Yeah, so I think what they're doing with the wraps is that they're actually, they remove material, along the mud line in order to put the wrapping on. And once they did that, it was discovered that there's, a sufficient amount of rot that required those to be replaced. So I think it wasn't something that was visible from an initial survey, but once you start working on it, you discover this.
As long as they're going to open as scheduled in May. Thank you, Bob.
Any other comments about old or new business?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Yep.
Just real quick, I just want to bring up this last year with the airport and what happened with them in August. So Rob and I met with them, I don't know, like 5 months ago, 6, I don't know when it was, but things are gonna be okay with them this year. The slight little communication glitches between the company in New York versus the people that are here, it sort of got a little foggy last year and confusing, and we have a real tight little relation now where we know what the other's doing and we shouldn't see a problem. But my point of bringing that up is that was like media frenzy craziness, just like this UPS thing. And I'm telling you guys and everybody, I don't care who's listening, who doesn't have anything to do today and they got to write something. We got to get back to normal with this type of stuff in today's world, not let it spiral out of control, because there's always an easy solution to these things. And this was one of them. This is like easy peasy to fix, yet it turned into a big mess with FAA and letters going out to airlines. I mean, insanity. So, it bothers me a lot when this stuff happens. Nothing I can do to stop it, but I just like to give you a little report that this was a big, huge deal out of nothing that's already fixed by just old-fashioned ways of communicating. So, I just wanted you to know that and keep that in mind when the next one pops up. Thank you.
All good points now, Nat. Thank you for saying that.
Yep.
Any other old new business? I have one that I just came up to mind, is that with COVID hopefully in the rearview mirror, Bob, is there any discussion about in-person meetings? I don't know if I want to bring that up, but I think we better.
Yeah, so I believe the remote participation extends until June. So I think one way or the other, we're gonna have to start looking at meetings. Now, of course, part of it is that I would anticipate that even with an in-person, we'd probably be continuing to do a Zoom for the logistics of it. So I think it's up to the four council members. If you'd like to gather, we can accommodate that.
It'd be nice to have
When
Nate
I'm
come over to the
70.
Big Island.
I'm 70, we'll.
It'd be nice to have you come
in-person.
over to the Big Island, Nate.
He came
I think
over
we
once,
should-
he just
I think
didn't
we
let
should
us know.
practice hybrid. We got
All right.
it once a year or so.
We'll give you a tour. I used to be a tour guide back many years ago.
So not seeing any more comments on old and new business. Now it's time to invite the press to see if they have any questions.
Rich is there. Hold on one sec.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Rich.
A couple questions, if I may. I was wondering if someone might be able to add a little bit more detail to what I understand was a truck that had some kind of mechanical trouble on a vessel Friday. I believe in either Vineyard Haven or Woods Hole, but I'm not sure. And I was wondering if someone could speak to what vessel that was and how the problem was remedied. From my understanding, it caused a bit of a loading unloading problem.
Yeah, so there was a truck on the island home that their brakes locked up, and they were in positions closest to the door. So at one point, the vessel had to be flipped around in order to get the vehicles off because they weren't able to free the brakes on it, and they weren't able to get a tow truck to be able to take care of it. Arrangements were made that someone was going to be meeting the vessel in Vineyard Haven to take care of it. But in the meantime, the driver was able to free the brakes themselves or had some assistance in getting the brakes freed and was able to get the truck off the boat on its own accord. But it did cause a delay, and the boat had already flipped around at that point. So it had, of course, flip back. So that way we're in the right positions. So.
Much obliged. And one other question, if I may, could you speak to any updates to the plight of the common carrier that previously endured some scheduling troubles on Nantucket, if there have been any amelioration of those troubles beyond what you outlined previously, and if the troubles that common carrier faced on the Vineyard, which seemed to be not that many except for not the trips they may have wanted, but they got the trips they needed, if anything's changed in that regard.
Yeah, and following the board meeting, the staff did what the board had approved in terms of going through the trips and consolidating what space could work as truck space. And the common carrier has been at this point, we've provided them with an updated list and of what reservations they now have and their position on the wait list for other trips. So.
Thank you. And one last thing, I may have missed this if you spoke of it earlier because I came into the meeting about 6 or 7 minutes before you started. But is are any members of the Port Council or any other than Mr. Cahill, because he's a member, he's a county commissioner, or any SSA staff members planning to attend this so-called summit between Nantucket and the Vineyard on the SSA legislation?
Rich, you're talking about the meeting on Monday, the public hearing?
Correct.
Okay. Matt, Rob, Joe?
I'll be attending. Yep.
Matt, I think you had a conflict, right?
Yeah, I have a statement. gonna ask the chairman to read, but I conflict at 4 o'clock at that day. Can you hear me? Sorry, John.
Start over.
Okay, I have a prepared little, statement for the chair to read into the record for me
Yep.
because I have a planning board meeting at 4.
Okay.
I had a conflict on the 14th and now I have a conflict on the 11th. I just can't get out of it. I can't just ignore my planning board meeting,
Yep.
So they all know what's going on. That's all I talk about for the last 3 weeks is this,
Right.
so. 4 weeks.
All right, does that answer your question, Rob? Rich?
Yeah, I appreciate it very much.
Rich.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Not seeing any other hands raised.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, Joe, second, please.
Second,
So moved.
thank you.
All right, roll call vote. Joe Salito,
Aye.
Nat Lowell,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and John Cahill, aye.
Yeah, I don't know when we lost,
We did.
Mark.
Somehow we did. We're all done.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.